the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. It's black and white. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. No more, baby. Love, no more, baby. Black and white. No more, baby. Love, no more, baby. It's black and white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico. It's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico. It's black and white. White, white, white. It's black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. It's black and white. Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hello everybody and welcome along to round 2 of the Simulation Racing Leagues TCR series. You join me, Jack Worrell, in the commentary box here at Summit Point Raceway. And well, if round 1 was anything to go off, we are in for one hell of a night. Donington Park won by this man here. If we can get some pictures of him, there we go. That man there, Callum Reid Garton, won round 1 in incredible style as well. He built the gap and just slowly started to disappear into the distance and won the race and didn't get the fastest lap though. Dan Mould took top honours with the fastest lap, gaining him 2 extra championship points, leaving him only 3 points behind the eventual winner. So a very, very busy night for everyone involved, trying to pick up those valuable points going into the rest of the season. I've just noticed none of the paints have loaded, so I've just given my trading paint a quick restart, so hopefully we do pick up some paint a little later on. But speaking of the championship points, let's see whether we can get any of those. I've just realised I've made a mistake and not actually sent them to the software, so if I do that, hopefully we will end up with some championship points. Let's have a look. There we go. So, well, none of that is Team Callum, and it's definitely not Team Dan Mould. So you'll have to forgive me on that one. I will get it fixed for round 3. But Callum Reid Garton took the eventual win, bringing home 25 points on the first round, the opening round of the SRL TCR series. Dan Mould came in second, finishing on 22 points. I've got to sort this out because I don't know many of the names really. So let's get this sorted. If I do that, maybe we get somewhere. So let's give this a go. Will that fix it? There we go. For some reason it is showing their team name, but we'll just ignore that for the moment. So Callum Reid Garton won the first round with 25 points. Dan Mould finished in second, only getting him 20 points, but he got those valuable 2 extra points with the fastest lap of the race. Chris Young finished in third position, bringing home 16 points. Rob Sutherland on 13 points. Craig Walters on 11. Andrew Lovesey left round 1 with 10 points. Bram Class 9. Niels Manshandon finished in 8th, finished with 8 points. Anthony Myatt got 7 points. Pete Brian on 6 points. Scott Tuffy on 5 points. Derek Crowther on 4 points. Matt Tempest on 3 points. Al Brown on 2 points. And Harry Bowen with a very last minute change for position left with the final point of the race. Everybody else looking to pick up some extra points this round. Let's see whether we can scroll on. There is the rest of the grid. You will have to excuse all of those team names. That's definitely not what we wanted. Team Tuffy there. That does sound good. I'm hoping Scott's watching because Team Tuffy. There we go. That's his new team name. But we do have the cars currently out on circuit, setting their qualifying times. Let's see whether we can get their best laps up on the left-hand side. There we go. Louis Correa currently on provisional pole position with a 1 minute 16.88. That's a quarter of a second quicker than round 1 winner Callum Reid Garton for CRG Motorsports. Currently in provisional second position. Kalle Kavisto with a great lap up on provisional third position, only 600ths behind Callum Reid with a 1 minute 17.19. I say that, but look at that. Niels Manshandon throwing the car up into provisional P2 with a 1 minute 17.064. So a very, very good lap from the privateer. Chris Young is now down into P5. Scott Malcolm has just dived into the pits. So I think he's finished his laps. Dan Mould has finished his laps as well. Pete Brian, we've still got out on circuit. He has set at the moment a 1 minute 17.34. We are starting to run out of cars to look at because I think everybody's just finished all of their flying laps. Dan Mould in the chat. Hello, mate. It's yeah, a little rushed towards the end, so if you are watching along, sorry if the stream started a couple of minutes late. It was very much a rush because me and Dan had a bit of a panic because my live timing wasn't working, and as we all know, the Apex Racing SDK Gaming live timing app, I really couldn't do what I do without it, so a massive thank you to them guys for providing it, even with its flaws this evening. But we did manage to get it sorted, and we are up and running, so hopefully the stream is looking good, all the volumes are okay. I think the cars might need to be a little bit louder. but I'm sure we can solve that. We'll get the music shut up because we are coming to the very end of the qualifying session. It is a 10-minute qualifying session, but you don't have to use all 10 minutes. This is one of the last runners we've got currently out on the track. This is Radoslav Zaharev, currently in provisional P23 with a 1 minute 18.38. So lots of room to improve, I'm sure, sideways through turn 3 and all over the gravel. That's a 1x, and he has decided that will also be the end of his session. Jermaine Warren out on circuit, who was briefly in a white car, but there you go, his livery's loaded now. So for the middle of the pack racing machine, number 29 in P28 at the moment, the slower of the two Americans we have in the league with a 1 minute 20.19. A fair bit off the pace this evening is Jermaine, but it doesn't massively matter what happens in qualifying. As we saw at round 1, the pack really does mix it in during the 40-minute race that we have on its way. But Louis Correa, what a lap time, 1 minute 17.81. He's not currently out on circuit. I'm not 100% sure why I clicked on him. Louis Correa currently out in front, provisional pole position with a 1 minute 16.805. Niels Manshanden in provisional P2, and I think the top 27 have got their position secured. Jermaine Warren crosses the line. He's set green sectors. Can he improve his position? He'll definitely improve his lap time. Crosses the line now. He goes slower, surprisingly. I honestly thought he'd go quicker, but maybe not. So Jermaine Warren staying in P28. He might have had a 1x though, hence why that lap didn't count. He did set personal best Sector 1s and Sector 2. Sector 3, he dropped off the pace a little bit, but an odd one, if I'm honest. I was expecting Jermaine to be right up there. As the session closes out now though, only 45 seconds of the qualifying session remain. And look, he's just getting that extra little bit of practice in, and that might be what he needs. If he can, if he's starting at the back, everybody dives into turn 1. It's a very skinny track here at Summit Point, and if you've got 28 cars all diving into turn 1, if you can minimise your damage going into turn 1, that will massively benefit the rest of your race. But it looks like he won't be able to improve his time if he can cross the line in the next 15 seconds. Nope, slams on the anchors and decides that will be the end of his session. But Louis Correa, the Venezuelan, right up there at the pointy end of the field. The only driver to break into the 1 minute 16 mark. There goes the checkered flag. So we are at the end of the session, which does mean we will have a grid order for you. So let's bring that up on screen now. Louis Correa takes pole position with a 1 minute 16.805. Niels Manshanden lines up in second. Callum Reid, Garton and Kalle Kavisto make up row 2. Chris Young has Scott Malcolm for company on row 3. Dan Mould and Pete Brian, P7 and P8. Scotty Angelo and Scott Tuffy, a row of Scots, round out the top 10. Rob Sutherland and Matt Tempest, P11 and P12. Al Brown and Ben Hicks. Derek Crowder, Dennis Rust, Neil Stevenson, Craig Walters, Rob Jackson, Chris Allen, Carl Lukeman, Anthony Mayett, Radoslav Zaharev, Jason Guara, and let's go down the last couple. Steve Jones, Dean Hammond, David Smith, Jermaine Warren, Bram Class, and Bradley Hulse rounds out the grid. And this week they won't have to wait for me because I have joined as a spectator, so they won't have to wait the full 2 minutes. Dan McCauley in the chat. Evening, mate. Right, so the lights are up on screen now, meaning we are almost at that time to go. Green flag racing. Louis Correa on pole position. Let's see what he can do going into turn 1. The lights go out now. It looks like a good enough start through the front couple of rows. Who's that trying to carve their way up? I think that's Chris Young in the Simtech racing car diving towards turn 1. Let's see what he can do. He's started on the inside. He's now on the outside, almost 3 wide in the background. We've got cars off the road. Chris Young looking for a move around the outside. Niels Manshanden has got all the way to the front. Chris Young is now in second. Kalle Kavisto in third. Scott Malcolm Kalle Kavisto in oh no, it is in third. It's just that Jason Guara has returned to the pits. Scott Malcolm in fourth. Louis Correa in theory in fifth. Our pole sitter, he's under pressure from Callum Reid Garton, who's trying to make up more position to his rival there, Dan Mould, following closely in seventh. We'll have to have a look back to see why Jason Guara has returned to the pits. That's Callum diving up the inside, trying to get the move done. on one of the fast cars go bang. That's a big hit in the background for one of the drivers. That's Derek Crowther pointing backwards. Lots of cars off the road. Steve Jones has had an incident. Let's have a look back to see what happened. So going into the hairpin, there's already a car off the road, and then he gets, oh, it's just a domino effect there. That was lots of cars slamming on the brakes, trying to avoid an incident and inadvertently causing another. But Niels Manshanden crossing the line now. If we get some pictures, we are stuck on the replay screen. Brilliant. There we go. So Niels Manshanden leading the way from Chris Young. Then Calais Cavisto still in third position. Scott Malcolm looking at the inside of Calais. Can he get the move done into turn one? Maybe not this time, but it does look like he's got the better run of the two. And he's got the inside line on the run up to the left-hander of turn three. I think he might have even got the move done before he even gets there. He does indeed on the brakes, turning into the uphill left-hander. And there you go, position made. Up into the podium positions for Scott Malcolm. Calais Cavisto there in fourth. Callum Reid-Garton did get past Louis Correa, so he's now up into fifth. Our pole sitter, Louis Correa, right the way down in sixth. Not a great start from Louis. Dan Mould couldn't follow him through, and that's Callum Reid looking to get past Calais Cavisto. I can hear lots of pumping and barging around in the background. Let's have a look back to see where that could be going on. Nobody's too close together, I don't think. This is Rob Jackson trying to get past David Smith. Dean Hammond's dropping down the order. He's sideways almost into the barrier. There you go, into the barrier. Thanks, Dean. Just so I can say that. Dean Hammond in the wall. Let's see what happened there. It doesn't say he's had an incident, I don't think. Matt Tempest has had an incident though, so let's see what happened. Into the hairpin. He's the driver on the outside, clips the grass, puts his foot to the floor, trying to keep the car in a straight line, slams on the anchors to make sure he doesn't come across the racing line again. Good driving from Matt. So let's see what happened to Dean Hammond. So this is him already in the wall. There we go. Dean Hammond went off track. Let's see what happens. So going into the hairpin, touches the curb. Does he get help? No, he touches the grass and the car rotates through 180 degrees and into the wall after a little bit of help. But we've still got Niels Manshanden out in front, who hasn't managed to shake off the attentions of Chris Young there in second place. Scott Malcolm up into third, looking to make inroads as well. And Callum Reid-Garton, he's starting to build that all so crucial gap. He's catching the lead trio. He's left the trio behind of Calais Cavisto, Louis Correa and Dan Mould. I was expecting Dan to carve his way through with Callum, but he hasn't found the gaps. The closest cars we've got out on circuit are these two here. Look at this, Rob Jackson on the grass. He's never going to get that slowed down. I think he might have been barged out there by one of the drivers. It could have been Steve Jones. And over the road once, over the road twice. He will have a massive slowdown from that, and if he's not careful, he might end up with a drive-through penalty. So let's see what happened there. So they were bumping and barging away. I think this was Steve Jones in front of him. All three definitely doesn't go into one. And I'm not sure what happened there. I think that was just Steve Jones unsightedly, or had the unsighted Matt on the inside, or Rob Jackson on the inside, pardon me. But he's had more issues as well, so I'm not 100% sure what's happened to Steve. A rough night for him. Nonetheless, he's continued on though. He's dived into the pits, I think. It's the timing screen can't keep up. It's very laggy at the moment, so sorry for my patchy commentary. I just can't really keep up with what's happening because the timing screen's telling me one thing, but the picture's telling me another. Look at this. That's Calais Cavisto. Almost sideways there with help from Scott. Oh no, it was Dan Mould almost sideways with help from Scott Malcolm. There is Louis Correa now picking up a position there. Scott Malcolm trying to defend from Pete Bree and Scott Tuffy just behind. Then Ben Hicks, then Rob Sutherland, and Chris Young's trying to get in on it as well. This train of cars will only be slowing each other down. Dan Mould leading it, then Louis Correa, and those two have slowly started to separate into a duo, disappearing into the distance. So then it's Pete Breen and Scott Tuffy trying to get in on it from P7, looking to pick up P6, and lots of blinking. I am sorry about that. My Wi-Fi appears to be dropping a little bit, so sorry about any lag that you guys might be picking up. But Scott Tuffy now looking to the outside of Pete Breen, going into turn one. What can he do? Both jump on the brakes at the same point. Can Scott carry the momentum around the outside? He looks for the cutback, grabs the late apex, but nothing comes of that. Ben Hicks is trying to keep up with Scott, but also defend from Rob Sutherland. There's Chris Young still following on, and then the big gap back to Al Brown. Then Anthony James Meyer, Dennis Rust there in the mix with his teammate Matt Tempest and Chris Allen for Powertoff Racing, trying to pick up some more positions. So we've got Scott Malcolm right the way down the order. I'm not sure what's happened to Scott. It doesn't say he's had an incident. He might have had a bit of a spin somewhere. I'm looking through trying to find it, but nothing's popped up on the event viewer. So I'm not sure what happened to Scott, but he is trying to chase down the bright blue machine of Rob Jackson. Scott Tuffy once again looking round the outside at the final corner on Pete Breen, and it looks like he's carried the momentum around. Great move from Scott. We'll have to have another look back at that, because I think he was in front very briefly, and then they swapped back. So this is the hairpin. This isn't where I wanted to be. So going into the final corner, Scott was definitely in front. He got the move done at the hairpin. Then Pete came back at him. Scott, not being one to let the position go, carried the momentum around the outside, squeezed him into the apex, and continued on. Great move from Scott there to promote himself up into P6. There he is. He might have got past, but Pete will be desperate to get back past once again. Here's where Scott got the position made on the lap prior. Can Pete do anything about it this time? Nope. All Scott needs to do now is disappear into the distance. We've got Dan Mole dropping down the order, or I think he just blipped with his teammate there. So Dan Mole trying to get past his teammate Kalle Kavisto, and he doesn't want to lose too much time, because there is Louis Correa on a comeback drive trying to get back up to where he started. Just a little behind. There's Stuffy trying to defend from Pete Bree, and all he needs to do at this point is build that gap and leave Pete battling Ben Hicks and Rob Sutherland. And there's Chris Young. We said that he was going to try and get in on the mix, and he's definitely done that. He's in the draft. He will have almost triple draft assistance from all the cars ahead. Very clean car. Lots of cars with a slight bit of front end damage. Chris Young's one of the cars that has no damage. We had an incident for David Smith. Let's see what's happened here. Oh, that's going to be a big one. He hits the tyre barrier. Smoke goes everywhere. Does he come back across the track? Nearly in front of Scott Malcolm. Goes the right way, grabs reverse gear, and gets back going again. I think Chris Young, he did indeed. He did get past. We swapped through the replay just as it happened into turn one. On the brakes, looking at the silver Simtech racing car. Rob Sutherland on the outside. Great dive up the inside, nice and clean. And the number 47 machine picks up another position, and he's trying to pick up another on the Fast Cars Go Bang number 359 of Ben Hicks, who has lost touch with Pete Breen, because he is charging back up to Scott Tuffy. Back up to the lead for a short while though. There is Niels Manchanden with a 2.1 second lead ahead of Callum Reid, round one winner. So Callum trying to keep up his chain of, or trying to build up a chain of good results, but he's got all the work to do to chase down Niels Manchanden. There is Dan Mould now up into the podium positions, up into P3, still behind his championship rival though, Callum Reid. Dan will be out in the clean air, and with the motivation of Louis Correa behind, who has also worked his way past Kalle Kavisto. But Dan Mould, what he needs to do here is catch up with his rival and maybe just sit on for a little while. These drivers will have a pit stop for fuel, I believe. But a 40-minute race, so we've only got 30 minutes left of the 40-minute race. But look at that gap, it's slowly coming down. I think Dan Mould has got the bit between his teeth. He's got that clean air, and he will be picking up a slight bit of a draft very, very shortly. And I think Callum Reid has noticed, because he's been looking in his mirrors and dropped back to the tune of about half a second from Niels Manchanden. So that gap has built up very, very nicely for Niels. But Callum Reid, he can't lose too much using all the track and a little bit extra, almost grabbing the grass, going through the penultimate corner. But Louis Correa hot on his heels. Let's see what the closest, or who the closest cars are out on circuit at the moment. It's Ben Hicks, with the attentions of Chris Young behind. We knew Chris was on a hard charge. He got past Rob Sutherland a few laps ago, and he's now looking to pick up another position on Ben Hicks. He's a little too far back this time by. I say that, but look how much he closes up on the brakes. Chris Young desperate to pick up another position. Gets a better run through there, I think. but washes out on the exit. Doesn't look like he's going to pick up a position. I can show off my new cameras if they've loaded correctly. Nose cam, there we go. So I had a bit of a play around with the cameras before the race, and we now have a slightly different camera angle. So this is the, in theory, nose cam of Chris Young, looking to get past Ben Hicks. Ooh, slightly deep on the brakes there for Ben Hicks, and Chris Young really made the most of that. This is the tight, twisty tail end section of the circuit. You can see up ahead Scott Tuffy chasing down Kalle Kavisto. Kalle's only seems to be going backwards this race, but Scott Tuffy with that very, very vibrant yellow, green and black machine trying to get into the top 5. Scott Malcolm trying to work his way back up through the order. He's lost 13 positions from where he started. Next target for him will be Carl Lukeman in the SRL machine with the pink flashes, with heavy damage on the front of that number 3 machine. Not sure how he has caused that. We've had an incident for Rob Jackson. Let's see what's happened here. So very, very slow, pulls off to the escape road, and all looks well with the car, but evidently all is not well with him. So that's Rob Jackson, I think, or I fear, out of the race. Do we have Al Brown still running? Do we have Rob Jackson still running? We don't. Dean Hammond, do we have him still running? We do. We might actually have... No, we don't. Yes, so Dean Hammond is the last of the runners. So the retirees so far are Bradley Hills, Bram Class, Radoslav Zaharev, Al Brown and Rob Jackson all out of the race already. And Dean Hammond is 15 seconds behind Jason Guara. But it does mean... Oh, it doesn't mean that the race is over for him. 15 seconds, it sounds like a lot, but with still a sizable amount of the race still to go, he's got all that time to make up, and we know he can do it behind the wheel of that number 20 machine. Back up towards the top 2 though. This is Dan Mould looking to the left, looking to the right, finally deciding on the outside of turn 1. It looks like Callum's got the edge on the brakes, but slides his way into turn 1, compromising his exit, and Dan Mould up into P2 and ahead of his championship rival at the moment. But Callum Reid not wanting to let him get away. I think Dan has just opened up a can of worms here, because this battle will roar on for the rest of the race. Now look at this, Callum, he's only just lost the position. He's trying to pick it up again. Dan Mould, he'll have to run him wide here. But Callum Reid touches the grass. Will he get that slowed down? Sideways on the brakes. Is there contact between the pair of them? I think there's a little tap. Dan Mould boots it. Points the wheels where he wants to go and continues on. Very little came of that, but I think that could have been Dan Mould going into the side of Louis Correa. Callum Reid's also off the road as well. So Dan Mould, he picked up P2, fought for it as hard as he could, and stayed in P2. Louis Correa, I think, made a position out of that, and up into P3. Kalle Kavisto up into P4. Scott Tuffy up into P5. Pete Brian in P6, and Callum Reid right the way down in P7. He went from P2 to P7 in the space of, what, half a lap? So not a good lap from Callum Reid there. Bit of contact between the drivers, but these are TCRs, so they're definitely not afraid to get their elbows out. But Callum Reid looking to pick up a position from Pete Brian, trying to work his way back up to where he deserves to be. But Dan Mould, after a bit of argy-bargy, manages to pick up P2, and that points deficit between Dan Mould and Callum Reid will really set the tone for the rest of the championship. I think it might have been I think Callum was counting his lucky stars going into this round. We knew he drove away with it at Donington, but Dan Mould was busy in battle at that point, and when he's got a bit of clean air, you can just see how quick he is. He's now almost 4 seconds away from Niels Manshanden, but he does have the attentions of the Fast Cars Go Bang number 26 machine, Louis Correa, behind. We've seen Dan drop Louis before, but can he build up that gap that he needs? Niels Manshanden very much disappearing into the distance, very much like the Callum Reid Garton performance of Donington Park. The 104 machine really building up that gap, focusing on those quick, clean and consistent lap times. The fastest lap of the race so far, I believe, is held by Louis Correa, a 1 minute 16.36. We'll bring it up on the left hand side of your screen. It is indeed Louis Correa, 1 minute 16.359. That will pick him up 2 extra championship points, which he will need this early on into the season. The bigger you can build the gap now, it will really help you going into the closing stages of the season. Scott Tuffy, standout driver for me at the moment. He started in 10th and right the way up into 4th position at the moment. And that's Calica Visto, maybe going for a trip through the gravel, manages to get away with it. But there's Callum Reid picking up the position. And Scott Tuffy, he's under pressure here from losing another position because he will know that Callum is behind him. He'll see it on his delta, he'll see him in his mirrors. But nonetheless, a great first couple of laps from Scott to gain all these positions. Just in front, you see the yellow flashes of Louis Correa, still hot on the heels of Dan Mould. And I think these two are almost working together at this point because they have taken about half a second out of Niels Manchanden, our leader. But back to this battle, Callum Reid Garton, he's just picked up P5 and he's slowly starting to drop Pete Brian, who has Calica Visto behind him, and then Chris Young, and then we drop back to Ben Hicks, who's got a bit of damage on the front end of his car. He'll have the best seats in the house with a battle in front though. Rob Sutherland behind in a world of his own, currently in P10. Anthony James Myatt has gone from 22nd to 11th in only 14 laps, but he is not the biggest mover in the field, believe it or not. Jermaine Warren has gained 13 positions and he's right the way up in 15th at the moment, and he's living up to his teammate. Middle of the pack racing is basically slap bang in the middle of the grid at the moment, and he's looking to pick up more positions because Chris Allen ahead in the Power Toff Motorsport machine is looking quite slow. So I think Jermaine Warren will pick up an easy position here. Back up towards the lead though, Dan Mould still with Louis Correa behind him, and they're still slowly taking time. Oh, look at Scott Tuffy. It turns out he's proved me wrong because there's Callum Reid in the Audi Quattro livery, and he has only lost time. I think Callum is still preoccupied with Pete Brian in his rearview mirror because there is Scott, and he's really built out that gap now. Still in 4th position, lost out a little bit there on the start-finish straight, I think. But all this battling that Louis Correa and Dan Mould are doing means that they're only going to let Scott catch up, and if Scott can get on the podium today, it'll be absolutely brilliant for him. A strong showing at round 1 and an even stronger showing at round 2 for the moment, almost at the halfway point in the race already, and it seems like we've got racing going on as if it was lap 1. Chris Allen has lost out to Neil Stevenson there, I think. Yes, Jermaine Warren has got past as well, so maybe an issue for Chris Allen, but he is dropping back a couple of positions. Back a little bit further though, this is Craig Walters. We saw a lot of him battling his teammate Andrew Lovesey at round 1, but this time he has the attentions of he has the attentions of Rob Sutherland for the Three Spires Racing, pardon me, the number 8. The bright red machine trying to get past, has a look to the inside, but doesn't get the move done. Ben Hicks has dived into the pits this time by. We've had a couple of drivers already dive in, of which we are looking at 2 of them. Craig Walters and Rob Sutherland have already dived in. Scotty Angelo has been in the pits as well. Who else have we had in? Carl Lukeman and Steve Jones have all been into the pits. Who's that off the road? Who was that? Was that Al Brown? It wasn't. I think it could have been Dean Hammond, actually, if we pick up TV cameras. There we go. So what happened to Dean here? Did he just clip the grass or the gravel? He goes in very, very hot. Oh, he tries to avoid a very slow David Smith, I think. Who was that in front? I think that was Steve Jones who he tried to avoid, but ended up sacrificing a little bit of time there, but he did avoid the contact, which is always good to see. But this has turned from a 2-way battle into a 3-way battle for P2 at the moment, and they're still gaining on the leader. Niels Manchanden's lead has come down to 3.1 seconds, almost within the 3-second margin. I will bring up the interval, which will show you the gap between each car. So you can see on the left-hand side, Louis Correa has dived into the pits, But on the left-hand side, if the lettering is black, it means they're not really close at all. If it's yellow, they're within about a second. If it's orange, they're definitely on top of each other. And you can just see, going off the timing screen, how close Pete Brian is here to the tail end of Callum Reid Garting. He's gaining within 1/10, or within 2/10 of a second. Does he have a look to the inside? Almost within 1/10 of a second on the brakes. He dives out to the inside, but can't get the move done. Callum Reid once again sideways into turn 1, but they can't slow each other down too much because Kalle Kavisto is there to pick up the pieces as well, side by side, just in front. That's Pete Brian trying to go around the outside, the very long way around. He's got to ease out of that move, he does. I say that, late on the brakes around the outside, he's got to be very brave to get that move done. I think that was Chris Young in the background, yes, going for a trip through the gravel. A very tricky corner, turn 3 is turning out to be today. But Callum Reid still just about managing to fend off Pete Brian and Kalle Kavisto. But now we're seeing a few drivers dive into the pit lane for their mandatory pit stop. We've got, who's this? This is Scott Malcolm, the highest placed pitter at the moment. Then Louis Correa, who was in P3 as he dived into the pit lane. So I think he's lost a bit of time there in the pit lane. Ben Hicks has also dived into the pits, so has Craig Walters. Callum Reid Garton now into the pit lane, meaning Scott Tuffy at the moment is up into P3. So if I was Scott, I would focus on getting some really quick lap time in now and hoping to get the overcut done and get his way into the podium positions. Dan Mould still there in second position, now 2.5 seconds away from Niels Manchanden. So at the rate Dan Mould is closing on the leader, he is looking to get within reach by the end of the race. So the Simulation Racing Leagues driver trying his very hardest to pick up the lead, but he's still yet to pit, so strategy could play a big part. We've got a bumper in the middle of the road. I'm not sure who has deposited that there on the apex. We'll see it from Kalle Kavisto's car once again. Oh, I think it's disappeared or somebody's hit it out of the way very conveniently for us. But Dan Mould, let's see what he does this time. We'll go up to the leader actually to see what he does. Does Niels Manchanden dive into the pits? No, he doesn't. Does Dan Mould? Nope. Scott, he isn't going to do it either. Is Pete Brian? Is somebody going to go into the pits this time? It looks like he's going towards the pit entry. He is indeed. So Pete Brian diving into the pits this time by Kalle Kavisto continues on. Chris Young continues on. Anthony James Myatt does as well. Matt Tempest follows suit. And Neil Stevenson has the attentions of his teammate. It's a Simtech P7, P8 and P9 at the moment. Dennis Rust dives into the pit lane. Scott Malcolm continues with Louis Correa hot on his heels. These are the closest cars we've got out on circuit at the moment. So Louis Correa, pole sitter, remember, he's the guy that started at the very pointy end of the field, right the way down in P10. He has pitted already, actually so has, yes, Scott Malcolm. We looked at these guys only a few laps ago, but Louis Correa lost a position in the pit lane to Scott. We will look back from Scott's car in another one of my newer camera angles. Not too sure on this one, but I don't mind it. So there is Louis Correa. I'm not sure, 100% sure why it says Excite Energy iRacing, because that's definitely not an Excite car. I think my project files in the SDK have decided to mix themselves up. But who's that off the road? I think that's Neil Stevenson. He is indeed, and he is still yet to pit, so time he really couldn't afford to lose. Kalle Kavisto in the pits, Chris Young in the pits, but Scott Tuffy, Dan Mould and Niels Manchanden still continuing on. And look at that gap now, within a second is Dan Mould. Late on the brakes, look how confident he is on the brakes. He gets his slowed down way better, but I think that might have compromised him on the exit. But Dan Mould very much closing on to Niels Manchanden. Scott Tuffy still there in third position. There is Anthony James Myatt yet to pit, and then the last of the top end runners, Matt Tempest, is still to pit. But Scott Malcolm, although he is under pressure from Louis Correa late on the brakes, Louis Correa squeezing his way up the inside, getting that position back. Louis Correa is now the leading of the cars that have pitted, but Scott Malcolm is still there. He's on the inside, he's got the overlap, and he's got the momentum on his side going into turn 3. Oh, 2 doesn't really go into 1, but Louis Correa is definitely not one to back out. And Louis Correa just about holds on to the position. for another few corners. We'll go back up to the leader now, who has got Dan Mould only 6/10 away. What does Scott do? He still continues on. I can imagine the car is starting to feel extra slidey at the moment, but there is Dan Mould. Very, very close to Niels Manchanden, the closest we've seen him all race. Just under 15 minutes of the race still to go. And once again, closing up massively on the brakes, but it looks like Niels gets the better run of the two coming out of turn one. So once again, Dan Mould is left with all the work to do going through the latter part of the lap. Matt Tempest and Scott Malcolm in the pits as well. I thought Scott had already gone into the pits, but evidently not. Who else have we got in the pits? We've also got Scotty Angelo and Neil Stevenson all in the pits as well. Look how close this lead duo is at the moment though. Dan Mould looking to the inside through the tight and twisty section. I think at this point, if I were Dan, I would just sit behind and let it play out on strategy. You know you've got the pace, Dan. Just dive into the pits maybe early. Do the reverse strategy to Niels Manchanden and get a really solid outlap done, and you might just get the position made, but I don't think he needs that solid outlap, because into the lead, Dan Mould, everybody, takes the lead of the race. Niels Manchanden takes that as the point to pit. We've got a car up on the jacks in the pit lane. I think that's David Smith. Scott Tuffy continues on, now inheriting second position, albeit with a pit stop still to be made, but Dan Mould in the lead on track, and I think in the lead on strategy as well. As long as he can get this in-lap done correctly, he should come out in a nice position. But there is a bit of traffic up the road. Who is that? I think that's Neil Stevenson. It is indeed. So the Simtech Racing Machine in 20th position will have blue flags popping up on his screen very, very shortly, because Dan Mould is on his way. But Dan Mould now in the lead. We've got battling going on further back, side by side, going into turn one. This is Chris Young on the inside, defending from Callum Reid. I think there's a bit of net goad or a bit of contact between the pair of them. But Chris Young just about holding on to the position. Callum Reid looking to pick up as many positions as possible, because he did start in, I think, was third position. And he is the championship leader going into this round. But this isn't a great round two for him. Bearing in mind his main rival is the leader. He's diving into the pits. So was Scott Tuffy. Scott Tuffy has come into the pits as well. What does Anthony James Myatt do? Does he dive into the pits as well? He is indeed peeling off to the right-hand side into pit entry. There is Niels Manchanden with Louis Correa right behind him. And bearing in mind, Niels was theoretically in the lead for the lap he went into the pit lane. If that's Louis Correa, where is Dan Mould going to come out? Dan is rolling back down the pit lane, exits the pits now, and look at that gap. Dan Mould has got much, much quicker through the pit lane by the looks of it. Scott Tuffy comes out of the pits in fourth position with a nice healthy gap behind as well. So Scott can afford to push that extra little bit harder, maybe risk a mistake, but if he has it, he's got the time in hand. Chris Young is still there in fifth position, starting to build a gap to Callum. But Dan Mould in the lead and away. 4.5 seconds Dan made on that pit stop. So let's have a look to see where the time was lost. Niels Manchanden only spent a second extra in his pit box and spent 2 seconds longer in the pit lane altogether. So maybe Dan had done an extra couple of pit lane entry practices, got the point nailed, and has built that gap up. 4.7 seconds, almost 5 seconds to the good is Dan Mould at the moment. Niels Manchanden has got Louis Correa for company as well, so I think Niels is only going to get slower here, trying to defend from Louis. Scott Tuffy will have the best seats in the house though, because he is chasing down this pair, and if they come to blows, that will be Scott Tuffy promoted up into the podium positions. We will go back up and look at Louis Correa, because he is very much in the draft, got all the assistance that he can get. Going into turn one, it looks like he is still that extra little bit too far back to get any sort of position gain. Dropping now into the 30-minute mark, just under 10 minutes of the race to go. Lap 24 ticked off into the books. But Louis Correa not happy to settle for 3rd position, looking to get up into 2nd. Bearing in mind he started the race on pole position, still being in the podium positions after all the battling that's gone on is a definite achievement. That's a very, very poorly looking SRL car. Who would that be? I think it could be David Smith. No, maybe Al Brown. I'm not 100% sure who that is in the very, very damaged SRL machine. It's not Carl Lukeman by the looks of it. I can't find out who it is. If it's not Al Brown and it's not David Smith, is it Dean Hammond? It is. So Dean Hammond with a massive amount of damage on the front end of his Audi RS3 LMS TCR car. And in the background you can see that battle still raging away between Niels Manchanden and Louis Correa, and that all plays into the hands of Dan Mould, because he has extended his gap now to 5.2 seconds. Louis Correa looking up the inside, puts his nose there just to let Niels know that he's there, but he runs very, very wide, does Niels. Very, very deep on the brakes, and they're 3 wide with a bit of traffic. It looks like Niels Manchanden will get held up by a bit more traffic here as well. They tried to get out of the way beautifully, but Louis Correa around the outside. We've seen this come to blows before, but Louis Correa around the outside might have picked up an off track, hopefully not a slowdown on the gravel. Louis Correa promoting himself up into 2nd position. Niels Manchanden now down into 3rd position. Scott Tuffy trying to carve his way through the traffic as quickly and as cleanly as possible. He does that now. So Scott up into 4th position. Niels just needs to make sure he doesn't overdrive the car, make a mistake, and promote Scott Tuffy into the podium positions. As much as I'd like to see Scott get a podium, it would be great after all the hard work for Niels to remain in those podium positions. The next battle we've got a little bit further down is still between Chris Young and Callum Reid. The CRG Motorsport machine trying to promote himself up into the top 5 after such a good showing at round 1. Oh, we've had a change of position. That's Scott Tuffy up the inside of Niels Manchanden. I think he got the better run of the two coming out of the final corner, and up the inside, Scott Tuffy into 3rd position. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have another look back to see how that happened. So coming out of the final corner, he's had the momentum, he's got the draft assistance, throws the car to the inside and secures the position on the brakes. So Scott Tuffy now up into the podium places. Now chasing down Louis Correa, but at the rate Louis Correa is pulling away, I don't think he will have the time or the tyres to do so. Niels Manchanden is still there though, so although Scott has made the position, he will still be preoccupied with his rear view mirror. Kalle Kavisto trying to work his way past Ben Hicks. Those two might have just swapped positions. No, it is Kalle Kavisto trying to get past Ben Hicks at these latter stages of the race. Kalle using all the track as expected. Looking to the inside at the final corner, pulls back into the draft, tries not to compromise his line too much, but I think Ben Hicks has just got that nice tasty breath of air in between himself and Kalle Kavisto. Chris Young under pressure from Callum Reid. Callum Reid on the inside, late on the brakes. Does he get the move done this time? He does indeed. So Callum Reid Garton, round 1 winner, up into the top 5 for the moment though, because Chris Young's still there, right tucked underneath the rear wing. We will have a look at that. I say that, but oh, he had a look up the inside, but thought better of it. Chris Young pulling out of the move for the moment. 5 minutes of the race still to go, but the race definitely isn't over for a lot of these drivers. This is the battle for P5 at the moment. And what we'll do, because we haven't done it so far today, we'll go up to Dan Mould and we'll show off another one of our one of the new camera angles. We'll ride on board and we'll bring up the dashboard and we'll ride on board with Dan Mould for one of his final few laps of the race.
it just didn't move. Thank you, mate. Yeah, no, it was really good. Nearly started off terribly as the car in front of me didn't move off the line. I think, unfortunately, that caused a bit of a domino effect behind. There was a lot of shouting in the Discord. But yeah, I'm a bit gutted actually. I should have finished P2, or coulda, woulda, shoulda, but I went too far forward in my pit box, and I had to move back. And then that few extra seconds just cost me 2 places. I only managed to gain 1 back afterwards. But yeah, happy starting mid-pack and finishing where I did. So yeah. I am not a fan. I've made it quite known to everyone. Donington is probably my least favourite track. So I was always kind of just take whatever I could get at Donington. So yeah, Summit Point is much more preferred to me, and hopefully, yeah, moving forward the rest of the schedule, I'll be fighting a bit more up front, where I believe I've got the pace to be. Donington, yeah, just is not a good track for me. I'm sure everyone's got their good tracks and their bad tracks. So it's a very tightly packed league. So I'm sure next week there'll probably be a few different faces up the front of the pack as well, like this week as well. It was good to see. Keeps it interesting. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Well, it was a very interesting race to watch. And going into round 3, what are you sort of looking for? Are you looking for another sort of decent qualifying to put you right up in the mix and then work your way forward from there, or is it just going to be full out qualifying, get the positions made at the early stages, and then just do what you can in the race to continue your way up through the order?
Well, I definitely need to improve my qualifying. It's definitely a weak point of mine, but I'm not here for round 3, unfortunately. I'm actually moving into a new flat, so yeah, I'm a bit gutted about it. I'm not going to be able to make the next race, but after that round 4, I'll definitely be here for, and yeah, aim to improve that qualifying and start further up the pack, because that's my weak point or my weakness at the moment. So well, but yeah, really looking forward to it.
You will be missed for round 3, I'm sure, and sadly that does mean you'll miss out on points, and with there not being a drop round, it might hit you a fair bit in the championship, but you have got the best result you can this evening to going into the break. So we'll look forward to seeing you back for round 4. But while we've got you in the commentary box, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just Dan, thanks for setting everything up. It's my first league I've entered in iRacing, and so far it's been really enjoyable, and the racing's been really good, and everything's gone nicely to plan. So yeah, just a big thanks to Dan Mould and everyone in SRL and everyone competing, really. So it's making it really enjoyable.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining me in the commentary box, and we'll see you in what will be almost a month's time now.
Oh God, that's a long time, isn't it, when you put it that way? Yeah, thanks, Jack. I'll be tuning in for sure next week. The next rounds, unfortunately, yeah, can't compete, but definitely be tuning into the stream and watching the guys out on track.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure we'll put on a good show for you. And once again, thanks for joining me in the commentary box, and we'll see you at round 4.
Thanks, Jack.
That was Scott Tuffy, their eventual P3 finisher, and I had a bit of a panic attack there because I thought my mic was muted, and I'm not sure why it said it was on OBS, and I'm not sure how long it has been muted. So please do let me know in chat if you are watching along. There's 14 of you at the moment, so if you have been watching for a sizable amount of time, please do let me know if you could hear me, because I could swear that it has been running the entire stream, but if not, I am incredibly sorry that you might have missed out on some commentary. We do have another driver to bring in, though. We do have Dan Mould. Do we bring him in mid-conversation? Of course we do. That's just how it goes. We've got to bring him in mid-conversation. Dan Mould, welcome to the commentary box. Well done tonight, mate. It was hard fought. We saw you get your elbows out, with Louis Correa and Callum Reid, but that's what you needed. Bearing in mind you finished second at Donington with the fastest lap, leaving you only 3 points behind Callum Reid. This is what you needed, a big old boost to get you in front, and going into round 3 at Watkins Glen, you've got that nice points advantage.
Yeah, I had a terrible qualifying session. I completely forgot it was set at 3 laps, and that's coming from the guy who writes the rules. I think I was that engrossed with doing the new TCR sprints and the officials. I just got used to pulling over after 2 laps. So yeah, I was down the grid. Cracking lap time from Lewis and Niles, is it? Niles Manshandon. It was nice to see some new faces up top, which I think we're going to see throughout the league anyway. There's a lot of pace in these drivers, but yeah, it got a bit argy-bargy for the first few laps with Lewis and with Cal. I did think actually it was my error for Cal coming off, but I've just watched the replay and he actually touched the grass and sent himself spiraling into myself. But he made progression after, so it was all good. A little concerned about some of the disqualifications. I'm going to look into that. But I did hear you just say to Scott that there aren't drop races, but there are actually 2 drop races for people to take. So anyone who has been disqualified or has lost connection or who couldn't make tonight for any reason, like I said, you can have it as a drop race, so it's not the end of the world.
Got you. Right. Okay. So you can afford to have a couple of bad rounds or a
yes.
Then.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to blame this on you purely because you were the driver we were riding on board with. I ended up muting my mic to do a ride on board lap just to see what it was like. Thankfully, I did it with only 3 minutes of the race still to go. So there's a little section of the stream where you just couldn't hear me. So it was the final it was the final couple of laps and then the going through the results, which I'll run through in a bit. But I'm going to blame that on you purely because we're riding on board with you. So
I do apologise.
While we were riding on board with you, what was the driving style? Because it was aggressive but clean. I'm not sure how you managed it because you built the gap or you closed the gap to Niels Manshandon, and then when you came out the pitch, you had a massive gap to him. How did you manage that?
I think he may have got a drive-through looking at his instant points. So don't give me all the credit for pace. I think it may have been an error on himself with his instant points. Niels or Niles, I'll have to get it right. I'll have to ask him. He was matching me for pace up until the 3rd sector, and then I was gaining probably 3 or 4 tenths on him. But yeah, he was quick throughout. I've done a fair few laps around Summit Point in the GT3s and the Audi. It's a track I'm pretty confident on. So I knew I had the pace. I didn't expect the amount of guys to have the pace as well, which was pleasant to see. But I knew if I got my lines right, I'd be up there. It's just a case of getting through that first few laps of argy-bargy and the adrenaline's running high and people have got their elbows out, as you say, and you know it's hectic. You got people up your backside, you got people on your bumper. It's amazing. It's everything that I wanted in a league. And you know, I don't know everybody else, but so far I'm very happy with how it's running. It's good to see. Do want some more faces up there. I don't want the same people. But like I say, I think we're going to see that. There's a lot of people with pace in this league. When they find out the flaws, I think they're going to come strong. People, for example, I've tried to make this league a tactical league. Bringing in the actual fuel stop. And a few of them are getting mistakes entering the pits. Some of them are understanding the black flags, the drive-throughs, the tyres. You don't have to take tyres. Some of them are leaving them tipped. So I think once you find out these flaws, it's going to be an even tighter pack than it already is, which is what we all want to see.
Well, I'm not quite sure how it's going to be even tighter because bearing in mind today, I'm not sure whether you've looked through the results, but Scott Malcolm came out of the final corner in 11th, but crossed the line in 10th, and the gap was 0.001 of a second.
Wow, that's brilliant.
That's how
that is
close
amazing.
it is. And I'm not sure how he managed it, but he went from basically bottom of the order straight back up to top 10, which is interesting to see. And I haven't actually got him on my software correctly, so it just sort of guessed and put him on a random team with a random number. So whether any of that's right, I don't know, but I will get that fixed. But Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time, what's your outlook on that? Is it a track you like, a track you hate, or do you think the car will work around there? What sort of ideas are you bringing into Watkins Glen?
Watkins Glen is a very fast flowing track. I love it. I love it. I'm not sure. I think we've put the bus stop in it. Yeah, we have. We put the bus stop in it. I think it's the boot version, so it's cool. I think. But yeah, it's going to be close around there. I think that's the only part of the track that there's an issue with. There's the bus stop. I think apart from that, it's a very fast flowing track. I love it, and I think majority of the actual people in the league love it as well. Well, I hope they do. But yeah, it's one of my favourites. Not the sole reason why it's been picked. I've tried to be very fair with the track selection with free content and paid content. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see some of the lap times around there. So really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. Gutted Scott can't make it. He's moving house. I'm also gutted that Bram couldn't make tonight. He's come down with a fever, unfortunately. But like I said, there is a drop race, so he's well and truly still in the league. So yeah, bring it on. It's going to be a long 2 weeks, unfortunately, but it's a nice little stopgap between the races, I think. So yeah, looking forward to it. Well done to everyone tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, everyone did a brilliant job. Lots of action, and thankfully, I'm so glad that after scrolling through and after the help of one of my viewers saying that you're only muted for a short amount of time, you didn't miss out on any of the action, which is obviously your fault still. I'm not going to forget about that. But while we've got you in the commentary box, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
As usual, Jack, I want to thank you for the commentary. It wouldn't be the league it was without you commentating. I think that's why a majority of them signed up and turned up. So thanks for that. Thanks for everybody, for turning up tonight and putting on a good display. Thanks to anybody who's watching, who knows me. I think my brother-in-law watching me tonight. He's the owner of SM Computers. So if he's watching, hello to Simon. And hello to the wife and the kids if they're watching. Like I said, thank you again to everybody for making the league what it is. It's super exciting, and like I say, I can't wait for the next one.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you out, and thank you very much for the kind words. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen.
Thanks, Jack. See you later, dude.
See ya. That was Dan Mould, their eventual winner. And I am sorry about having my mic muted, so what I'm going to do, just so we get to run through it again. Dan Mould did eventually win the race to the tune of 5.8 seconds from Louis Correa. Scott Tuffy rounds out your podium with an absolutely stellar drive, just about within a second of Louis Correa as he crossed the line. Niels Manchandon finished in 4th position. Callum Reed grasped the top 5. Chris Young in 6th. Anthony Myatt in 7th. Cali Cavisto in 8th. Matt Tempest in 9th. Scott Malcolm rounds out your top 10. Rob Sutherland just about missing out there from Scott Malcolm. Derek Crowther in 12th, Dennis Rust in 13th, Carl Lukeman in 14th, Ben Hicks crossed the line in 15th, Pete Brian in 16th, Jermaine Warren in 17th, Neil Stevenson crossed the line in 18th, Craig Walters in 19th, Scotty Angelo crossed the line in 20th, Chris Allen in 21st, Jason Guara in 22nd, David Smith in 23rd, and then I think we get onto our retirees of Dean Hammond, Steve Jones, Rob Jackson, Al Brown, and Radoslav Zaharev. And sadly, Bramclass, like Dan mentioned, didn't get here this evening. But after what was a very, very busy night for everybody out on circuit, we've got all of this to look forward to once again in 2 weeks' time here on the Jack Royal Commentary channel. Round 3 of the Simulation Racing Leagues TCR series from Watkins Glen. And I can only imagine it's only going to get closer as the drivers get used to each other, get used to the car, get used to the tracks. It's going to be a very, very, very busy season. And bearing in mind, we're only 2 rounds in of the 10-round season. And we've still got the winter break to take into account as well. You've got to make sure the drivers don't munch down all the pork, all the mince pies. They've got to make sure they stay lean and fit to pilot these things around. But I think that rounds out the evening. We've only managed to get 2 drivers in this evening. It was Scott Tuffy and Dan Mould, and I think that is the only drivers we're going to get in on the interview. But thank you very, very much for watching this evening if you have been watching along. And if you're watching here on the replay, please make sure you leave it a like and make sure you subscribe as well. It really does mean a lot. But yeah, it's that time again. Sadly, we have to close off. Obviously, a massive thank you to the sponsors as well of SRL, just to name a few. We've got Loki Films, Data Shred, Pinjin, and of course SM Computers. So a massive thank you to those guys, and a massive thank you to Simulation Racing Leagues for producing such an amazing series. A massive thanks to Dan Mould, the man behind it all, with his various colleagues as well. But this has been Jack Werrell here for the Simulation Racing Leagues TCR series, round 2 from Summit Point, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen.